Young Adults Podcast. Wir sind heute auf dem TBN Deutsch-Set. Machen etwas anderes. Man sieht, es ist ein bisschen fancier, alles ist ein bisschen schöner, bessere Quali. Aber ist okay, weil wir sind nämlich das TBN-Set von Nick Nilson crashen.
Yes.
Er hat heute TBN-Talk aufgenommen und er ist heute unser Special Guest.
Welcome Nick.
Er hat gerade ein neues Buch rausgebracht, aber wir werden nicht über das reden, sondern er wird uns schon ein bisschen von seinem Leben erzählen, von seinen Erfahrungen. Und wir können mega viel von ihm lernen. Er ist von Lakewood Church USA und yes, wir freuen uns drauf. Wir werden das Ganze auf Englisch machen, aber wir wollen dich motivieren, du dich trotzdem öffnen. Auch wenn es nicht deine Sprache ist, es wird super und wir freuen uns drauf.
Meine Sprache ist so nicht, von dem her, wir schaffen es.
Und wir müssen übersetzen, aber auf Hochdeutsch. Aber darum gehen wir jetzt rein. Nick, so good to have you. Thank you very much for being here. It's a big honor.
I have no idea what you just said for the last 2 minutes. Just nodding.
Just good things.
Super.
Good things. Super.
Danke. Super.
Oh, it's amazing. Thank you for
Good to be here.
doing this. Tell us about you. Who are you? What do you do?
Well, clearly I'm an American, and I am a pastor in Houston, Texas. That's where I live. My wife and I, Summer, we've been there for 17 years. Been married almost 20 years.
Amazing.
2 kids.
Let's go.
17-year-old Haven and a 13-year-old son. His name's Denver. And I have a puppy. His name's Harley. And he's a legend. And I'm a big American football fan, Chicago Bears. So if there are any Bear fans listening or watching, I salute you. It's our year. This is our year. But I don't know if there's anything else you want to know about. I love to fish, love to golf.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What do you do at Lakewood? What's your role now? I know you have been a young adults pastor for how long?
I've been, probably young adult pastor 15 years, full time.
Amazing.
Even longer when I go back to when I started doing ministry. But last 2 years, my role started to change where I now oversee all the ministries at Lakewood. That also includes youth and young adults. So I still work with young adults. We do a large conference every year, Hope and Life Conference. You guys, you haven't.
Not yet.
But yet. Not yet.
Next year.
So yeah, I love it. I get to work with a great team of people at Lakewood, giving direction to ministries, work with all our staff. I produce and help program our weekend services with Pastor Joel, along with a lot of our signature events. But yeah, just shape culture, develop leadership, a lot of things that I really enjoy. And honestly, just doing a lot of things I never imagined I'd be doing. You know, with how I was raised, where I grew up, how I grew up. I'd have just, if you told me that I would be in Switzerland, hanging out with some Switzerland guys, talking about church, I would have never believed you. So it's just really, God's been really cool. And I'm just really fortunate to be where I am.
Love this. Thank you. Just before we dive in, we always ask questions our guests. And so we want to know, what's your current jam? What's your favorite song? What's running when you drive your car?
I would say, I was talking with him the other day, right now, constant is Leon Bridges.
All right.
Leon Bridges playlist, the vibe, just enjoying that.
Frankie Valli.
I love all kinds of music. I mean, that was one thing we have in common is all types of music, old, new. But I'd say Leon Bridges right now, backyard, chilling, barbecue. Leon Bridges is on the playlist.
Love it.
Pretty, yeah. So
that's amazing. Thank you. We also have our young adults pastor from Hope and Life Church right here with us. It's an honor to have you as well.
Thank you.
As we start, just let us know, what's your story? You met Nick a few years ago. What's the story behind that, maybe?
So it's a long story.
Yeah.
No, I make it very short. So me and my wife Tabea, we had the possibility to stay a few days in US. We were in Dallas and we had the feeling to visit Lakewood Church on a Sunday, so we drove down to Houston, and then we were in a service, and we realized that we can say hello to Pastor Joel after service in the line, so shake hands there. And then in the first service we missed that, so there were a lot of other people, so we decided, okay, we go and try after the second one, because I'm honest here on the podcast. I just want to try to have a picture of him. That was my goal.
I mean,
Selfie.
Honestly,
Selfie with
yeah,
Pastor
very
Joel.
humble, but I realized so many likes when I get a picture of him. So there's one time in a life chance. So I get no. Then we stand in the line, and I prepared with my very, very bad English to say thank you for all what he's do, the books and all that, because we really loved what how he see the Bible and brings so much hope in there. Then we had the opportunity to say hello to him, and I said what I planned to say, and then he said, okay, let's wait here on the line, and somebody will call Pastor Nick, and then he will take care of both of you. Then was the beginning of a big story, because Nick showed us the building from Lakewood Church. Our hearts connected very fast, and it was for me such a big thing, because later also I realized that it's not every Sunday happen. It's also for Nick something special. And then we started the relationship, and in the first days we stay a little bit longer in Houston. Then I tried with my English to ask Nick that he is willing to come to Switzerland and speak on a conference.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then
And
2013 it started. Yes,
started.
Where it all
a
began.
long travel. Yes,
So
I
good.
said yes.
Yeah.
yes.
I imagine that
So
happens a
thankful.
lot. Like getting called by Pastor Joel and somebody is waiting for you.
It's part of the job, right?
Yeah.
Like there's things he'll call and ask me to do, and people he'll ask me to take care of. But that, to his point, that was unique. I mean, meeting him, I'd never met anyone from Switzerland, that's for sure. I mean, I've met a lot of people from different states in America, different countries, Latin America, but never Switzerland. So when he said he was from Switzerland, it was like, wow, that's crazy. And again, he said his English was pretty broken, so it was hard, but he was just smiling. Him and Tabea just smiling a lot. But you can kind of tell, someone's heart. You can kind of get a feel for somebody and how genuine they are and authentic they are. Yeah. And I felt like that was a connection we had. And the more we hung out and the more I showed him around, the more I felt like, man, this is something I feel God has orchestrated. And from there, it was just, So when I came here and saw this and, met you guys and saw what God was doing here, my heart just immediately connected and attached. And I knew this is something I'm supposed to be a part of.
Amazing.
And so it's been pretty cool to see it evolve over the years.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, so Timon, you call Nick Nilson your role model. Why is that so?
You never hear that. No, thank you, Dominic, that you say to him. I was too afraid to say no. No, he knows. No, I think Nick showed me an example that not that I really searched that, but my heart searched a man who stays loyal and just don't live for his own dreams all the time. So a lot of people, they told me, you have to do this, then your career goes on this way and this and this. And I learned so much from Nick that it's not all the time about your dreams. So there is a lot of power to serve another man's vision. And I hear that for first time ever. And my heart and also Tabea's heart was really to stay here. Also when other leaders, that was a time everybody who wants build a church, who wants be something that makes sense, they left because it was the culture. And we have had all the time the feeling to stay and help Conrad and Andrea to build something here. And then Nick came in our lives and he encouraged us that there is also something big to help the leaders to do what God wants to do with them. And this is just one thing. Yes, it's a big point, but I learned so many good principles from Nick that I really can say it's changed my life. And to be honest, I don't think I would build church on this way anymore when I don't have the possibility to have Nick as my friend now.
It's amazing. I feel like every time we meet you or every time Timon speaks of you, there is a deep commitment for you to the church, to this particular church by Pastor Joel. I imagine you could do anything you want to. I mean, you've been there for about 18 years, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, 18 years. And so you have the experience, you have the knowledge, you could start a church, you could do like other things. Why are you committed to that church?
That's a good question. I you know, at the end of the day, I know in my heart it's where I'm supposed to be. I mean, I know that's a very simple answer, but yes, there's other opportunities. There's other things that come our way that in the moment seem appealing. You know, you see other people your age. I see my peers, people my age or with my experience going off and doing other things. And it's easy and tempting to chase after those things, compare yourself. But I think you have to, honestly, for me, it's just always assessing what God has called me to do and staying in my lane. And that's ultimate success, you know, is obedience. And what's obedience for me look like right now in this season of my life? And every time I pray that prayer and ask and search my heart, the answer keeps leading back to Lakewood and serving Pastor Joel. And as he mentioned, you know, something I've learned is there's power in serving someone else's vision. And no matter where you're at in life, whether you're 18 or you're 22, whether you're a waiter or you're doing, you know, marketing, social media work, wherever you find yourself, I think there's power in submitting your heart to a bigger vision, something bigger than yourself. And when you look at even in Scripture, you see Joseph. God has this massive dream for Joseph, and He reveals this purpose to him at a young age, you know, a teenager. But Joseph's journey to eventually getting to that place that God told him he would get to, the process to get there was always serving other people's vision to get there. And here he's serving other people's vision. That was the way he was going to attain his dream, was helping other people. In fact, at the very end, the last chapter of his story, before he becomes ruler of all, the way he gets to attaining his dream is helping another person interpret their dream. And so for me, it's a powerful principle of the way to reach your dream is helping other people realize theirs.
So good.
And when you understand that, especially as an 18-year-old or 20-year-old, it really unlocks your life. When the Bible says the life of the generous gets larger and larger. I mean, you wanna see your life full and big and expand. Be generous. Serve someone else. Help build another vision that's outside of yourself. And there's great peace there and fulfillment and satisfaction.
It's amazing.
Sorry, can I add very quick something
absolutely.
to that? I just think about it, that also one big point is since the beginning, Nick told me, be you. I'm live here, but you have other strengths. Just be you, be the best version of you. And that's also when you serve another man's vision, or also you have role models. You don't have to be this person because God makes you unique. And that was also something new and encouraged me just to find out what's God's plan for me personally. And over that time and travel, I realized what he says, it makes sense. So God makes some confirmations of all about that. So that's helpful. Not that we say, "Oh, Nick is so great, it's my role model. I want to live like him, be like him." So be me, and that's something very big that I just think about. It's very important. And when we speak about role models, to just let us encourage from them, but be you, be us, be everybody.
And I think to his point about being yourself, it's so difficult right now in our culture because of social media. And you look on your feed on Instagram, you look through TikTok, wherever you spend your time on social media, it's like you see everybody else's life and everybody else's highlight reel. You know, it's not real life, it's everyone's highlights. And they're portraying a certain way of life, or a leader is leading a certain way, or wherever your field is of interest. And it's easy to try to be like somebody else, but you have, like Timon is saying, you have to get comfortable in your own skin. God can't anoint who you pretend to be. You know, he's created you to be unique. He's created you, you're a one-off, as I like to say. You are custom made. You are designed to be you, and you have to come to that place of security. Stop comparing. Stop trying to be somebody else. You have to be who God's designed you to be, and that's where you really start seeing God's blessing in your life, and you really start seeing doors open, is when you get confident in being who you are.
So good. How do you navigate through all of that? Like, how do you know what you're supposed to do or you're supposed to be? Like, especially a young adult who listens to this podcast, very young age, doesn't know what's my part, what's my role. What would you say to somebody like that?
Well, I think I mean, first of all, I don't think that's attained in your 20s. I don't think that's attained at a certain age. I think he and I will tell you it's a lifelong journey.
Yes.
You know, I still struggle with, I have to remind myself, hey, be you, man. You know, like, quit trying to pretend to be someone else. Quit trying to be that preacher or that leader or that man. Like, you have to come back to being confident. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to being secure. And a lot of times our insecurity, you know, when we don't like ourselves, or when we see things in our life that we're not proud of, or we're embarrassed of, or maybe someone criticizes us in an area, and you just grow in your insecurity. A lot of times out of that, we overdo it. We overperform. We try to gain attention. We do things that are out of character. And I think secure people make the greatest leaders, when you can be confident in who you are, and secure leaders serve people the best. Because I'm not in my life to try to get compliments from people or to get reassurance from people. I'm good with God. I know who I am in him. I'm confident in my own skin. I know he has my back. I know he's for me, not against me. So I go into my life from a position of being approved. So I'm not going on social media to find likes. I'm not going on social media for approval. God approves me. So I move into my life from approval. Now, that's easier said than done. You know what I mean? Like everyone, I struggle still with it, you know, where, hey, why are you doing that? Why are you trying to impress that dude? Why are you trying to, just relax, be secure. You let God open doors for you. God loves you. He's approved of you. He has a plan. And it's a freeing way to live, but it's a challenge to do it, especially when we live on social media these days.
So I thought about, how do you get secure, and how do you get, like, do not depend on likes and all that stuff. So one advice you gave me, I remember.
Yeah.
So you told, live a quiet life. So I think it has so much connection to that, not be very depend on likes, for example, and all that stuff. So do you have something to tell about live a quiet life?
Yeah.
You talked about a Bible verse. Maybe tell that one.
Yeah. So Paul in the New Testament, I believe it's Thessalonians. Is it first? Is it Thessalonians. He talks about having the ambition to live a quiet life, and he's writing to the church, and when you really study what he says, he's talking about leading and pursuing a life of significance. And I think it's very contrasting to our culture today that is wanting our lives to be very public. You know, we're pressured and tempted to make our life known to everybody. Let me post this, and we can get really caught up in that being the focus every day is post my life, show my life, you know, prove to people what I'm doing cool things. And Paul here is encouraging the believers to say, hey, look, pursue a life of significance, a life of purpose. Don't pursue a life of popularity. And that to me is challenging. It causes me to really reflect on my motives of why I'm on social media, why am I posting things. I'm not saying all social media is bad, of course not. I think it comes into balance, but I think it talks about, you know, Paul is just saying, hey, think more about living a life of purpose. Think about discovering who God's created you to be, living a life of significance, be in the moment, you know, create your, I like to say sometimes, like, create your own story.
Yes.
You know, you're looking at everyone else's story and your life is being distracted, looking on everyone else's story. Spend your time creating stories instead of watching stories. Create stories. Create, you know, what I was thinking I was encouraging you is one thing I love about this culture and you guys is you're pursuing your growth personally, your development, discovering your purpose, what God's called you to do. You're trying to really chase after the things of God. And you're developing as men and young women. And it's fascinating and awesome to see and very encouraging because instead of, hey, let's just focus on what we're putting out there for everybody, let's focus our lives on the development, becoming who God's called us to be. So it's a good verse though.
Thank you for that. Like I like this picture of the quiet place, and how do you pursue that, or what does that look like for you? How do you navigate? Yeah, how do you do that? What's that?
I think often we go through life and we have our goals, our dreams, and also maybe look to someone and think, oh, that's a life that I would love to live. And as long as I live and I'm on a travel with God, I realize it's so important that I don't take myself too serious. So it's not that important that I can do anything in these years that I have, and what I do is not so important for me personal. I just want to stay connected to the heart of God because I realized it's such a big adventure with Him anyway. And it doesn't matter that I stand in front of camera or I do something behind the scenes. I try to lift some up behind the scenes or whatever, work with people in office or such different things. But as more as I learned, it's not that important. I just had a good feeling about enjoy every day. This is the day that the Lord has made. And some days are very big, very busy, very interesting, and some days I do just things like I do 100 times before, and I can try to be excellent in that. And but it's not that the point that some big things make me happy, and then I can post it and 1,000 likes. So it's more like the life with God. It's my identity. It's my ground, and then I'm interested what God will do. With my life. I see. I don't have a 20 years plan or something. I will see what happens.
I think for me, I think it's all on how people see the social media platforms in their life. For me, it's more of a tool. I'm not real personal on my social media. I just see it as a means to help people and be a source of encouragement to people. So when I'm posting, when I have that mindset, it's I don't feel the pressure to have to post every single, moment of my life. If I do, usually it's I'm wanting to celebrate or encourage someone. I'm wanting to celebrate my kids. I want to celebrate someone that I saw do something cool. I see it more as a means to encourage and to inspire people, and as a tool. So I think it all kind of boils down to like your motivation behind posting. Again, as I stated, I'm not anti-social media. I think it can be used to do great things. It can be used to connect people that you don't see very often. I think it has a lot of pros, but like anything, it stems to your motivation, how you perceive it, and I just think it's for me a tool that I see. Yeah. But as it relates, sorry, I do want to explore like this quiet life again, and kind of circle back, because I think for me the reason why that verse is very powerful now, because Paul is writing to the church to let their ambition be to live a quiet life. You know, like let that be your desire. He doesn't say go and live a quiet life. He says have that desire to. It's not a forceful commandment. You know, I think it's a very relevant verse now, because the church for so long and Christians for so long, I think many people who aren't believers have been hurt by loud Christians. You know, people who are yelling on the street corners, yelling at people that they're going to hell, that they're bad, that God's mad at them. And I think people have had bad experience from loud Christians. And I think what Paul is saying is let your life speak. You know, let your life speak loudly. Let your actions, you know, speak louder than your words. You know, let your love for people, let your grace, let the way you carry yourself point people to Jesus. Live a life of significance. That first part of that word significance, S-I-G-N, it's sign. And so our lives should, you know, what do signs do? They point to something. They give direction. They lead people somewhere. And our ambition should be, let my life point to Jesus. I pray that my life would show people who God is. And you can even apply that to social media. Do these posts lead people to Jesus? Or does it point to how good I am? How cool so I am? Or, you know, again, nature, posts about nature and, you know, that beauty could point, wow, look at God's creation. That's amazing. So I think that there's a lot of things within that verse that I think are very relevant to our culture today.
It's amazing.
So last Sunday night, you talked about like many of us, maybe my generation, wants to live a quiet life, but later. So like, live a quiet life, but when I'm 20, when I'm 20, and I can get serious when I'm 20. Where's the motivation to live a quiet life in my age, like 18, 16, 14?
That's good. Well, first, I think, again, when we say quiet, again, when Paul says live a quiet life, I think, to me, it's like we should always be preaching with our life, but that doesn't mean you have to use words. You know, I think I'm not saying you don't proclaim the gospel when necessary. You don't encourage, you don't speak. I think what Paul was emphasizing there was focus your life, like you're saying, on purpose, on significance, on reaching your destiny. I just think there's a lie in this generation, this next generation, in your generation, that I'll wait to get serious with God until later. You know, I'll have fun now. You know, do things that I want to do, and then when I get older, get married, have kids, I'll settle down, and then I'll get religious. And I think it's really buying into the lie of the enemy. I think the enemy loves to try to convince people to wait to get serious with God. But the problem with that is there's never a good time later. There's always, the enemy will constantly keep trying to get you to procrastinate, to wait. Oh, wait till you're a little bit older. Wait till your career starts. Wait till you get the promotion. Wait till you get to the house. And it's just, the enemy lies. And I think the problem with that is you're missing out on so much potential for growth right now and discovering your purpose right now. There are things that God has shaped you to do now. To make a difference now. I mean, there are gifts and talents in you guys that God wants to use now to make a difference in your world.
Yeah.
And the enemy wants you to go, wait till you mature, wait till you grow up, then you can really be used by God. And it's just a lie. I mean, I see now in Houston, in my context, so many students that have come alive to their purpose, and God's using them to do incredible things. I mean, they're leading their whole families to Christ. They are passionate in their schools. We're just seeing students serving, doing relief work, tangibly helping people. You know, it's phenomenal. And there's joy and peace in that they're discovering that drugs, alcohol, partying is not giving them. And that's the key is, party, do this, do that, have sex, live how you want to live. And that's where you'll be fulfilled and happy and find peace. And it's a lie. Those things may temporarily satisfy you for a moment, but they can't fulfill you long term.
Yes.
And a relationship with God can.
Yeah.
And discovering and walking in your purpose does. And I think that is the good news. That is the good news for this generation.
I do love that. You both told us your stories a few times, and I think we see that also in your stories. Like you both were athletes, you play professionally, you American football, ice hockey, and you both had like maybe quite of a different lifestyle back then, also back in sports. And how was your journey like to go from that into a life with Christ, into having that purpose, into having that fulfillment with Christ?
For me, it was really a travel. It was not a one-day turn or something like. And I not really think it's just when I stopped to play professional hockey, then church gets alive in my life. It was really a travel. And like Nick said before, I was an example exactly like that, just searching all over in sports and also in party and all of that, just to make my soul happy all the time and have some fun night by night. And there was really a big point in my life when I really woke up in another city in Europe and slept on the train station there, and then I have to realize how stupid is that. That's not my life. I learned so much from my parents, good things, and now I do the different thing. You can't do more stupid things like that. And then it was just a peaceful voice in my heart to say that I still love you. And come with me. There's so much better things in store. Then I had a long travel back, and I thought about what I really want to do in my life. And then it was a turn also because this great church, because I came into the church and I was not that typical Christian when I came in, and everybody looks at me, oh wow, we have a new preacher here. No, it was like, oh, how we can handle this guy. It's like more like that. And and that's the reason I have a heart for everybody, because it's my own story. And nobody came and say, do this. They just love me, and because they live what Jesus said. And when I later stopped with the professional hockey playing, it was more a next decision to follow my heart. There was nothing bad with hockey. Still love that sport so much. I think I play until the end, so as long as I can. But it was just the travel that I tried to step by step follow my heart, just to make it short a little bit.
Yeah. How was that for you? How was your journey?
I didn't grow up in church. My parents were divorced when I was 3, and I grew up with dysfunction around me. My dad was struggled with alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and there was dysfunction that I just thought was normal. I thought everybody deals with this stuff. And so by the time I reached middle school, high school, similar to Timon, I was searching for fulfillment in all the wrong places. Girls, parties, sports, thinking these things would make me feel valued, would fulfill me, make me happy. And again, yeah, there are moments, but over the long term, I just felt myself empty, searching still, looking for peace. And I had a friend who was a year above me in high school, and he invited me to a summer camp, a church summer camp. And I was just like, what, dude? I don't know about church. Like, what? But he was the one person in my life that he lived a quiet life. He lived out his relationship with God in front of me, but he didn't push. He wasn't on a megaphone. He just loved, served, was confident, had this security about him, this peace about him, and very cool, very relatable. And we played basketball together. And he invited me one time to a camp, and I was like, well, I've seen him live his life. It seems appealing. And I said, yeah. And I went, and that first night when I went to this camp, I was in an environment of faith, much like this church in the young adult service. And I was just, God gripped my heart. And I can't tell you what the sermon was. I can't tell you exactly what happened. I just knew that God was calling me home. And I felt this sense of, man, this sense of peace, this, I can't fully describe it, but I knew that I was home. I knew that I belonged, that I was his son, and that I could begin this relationship with God. And next day I got water baptized, and I came back a different man, and beginning the journey of following Jesus and discovering his plan for my life. And it was amazing. My parents didn't fully understand. My friends didn't fully understand. They thought I was a part of a cult. What are you doing? You're getting brainwashed. And it was crazy. And I just remember loving my friends, trying my best to point to Jesus. Wasn't perfect. And I think that's a big key, is a lot of people, a lot of Christians feel like I have to be perfect. And if I can't be perfect, it's bad. And, you know, it's like, listen, I would tell my friends who weren't believers, like, look, I'm trying my best. My heart, my ambition is to live a life that honors God, but I'm going to make mistakes, you know? And I think just being authentic is important, and people really respond to that. And I think when you live it out as best you can, over time, people see it and they go, something's different about you. And so I navigated those relationships. And then when it came to football, I really just threw my life into football all growing up. But when I gave my life to Christ, I had a new perspective on football. And I had college opportunities, full ride scholarships to play football. Third game of the season, my senior year of high school, I'm a Christian. I go into this third game doing really well. And I'm running the ball, I played running back, and I put my foot in the ground to cut, and a guy hit me, and I just collapsed, and I just knew something was messed up in my knee. And after x-rays, tests, later they would say that I tore ligaments in my knee and I needed surgery. And it was during that time where here I thought football was what I was supposed to do. As a Christian now, this is what I was made to do. I was able to talk about God on a platform and tell people about God. And now it's like, it seems gone in a moment. And during that period of surgery and rehabilitation, God did something in my heart, and my desires changed. And that's the only way I can describe it. It's like God operated on my heart and changed it, and the desire to pastor grew. And I remember telling my dad for the first time, like, I feel like I'm supposed to be a pastor. And he's like, what? You're going to be a priest? Like, he just didn't know, you know? And he thought, you can't have kids? What do you do? What do you know? Like, and I was like, no, Dad, this is what being a pastor is. But that's where I came from, my whole family, you know? So all that to say that God allowed that to happen, that door to close, so that he could lead me to something better for me. For me. For some people, yes, sport is it. But for me, God had a better plan for me, the way that I was wired. So it was like God allowed that door to close so he could change my heart from what I thought I was, what I wanted to do to what I was made to do. There's a difference. And I discovered that the more I sought after him, my heart changed, and I find myself pastoring now, doing something that I never thought I would do, but it was because of a closed door. And so I just encourage anyone who's listening right now or watching, you may be faced with a closed door. God has something powerful in store for you. He wouldn't have allowed it unless he has something better.
Yeah.
And I got to my destiny because a door closed.
Yeah.
So
That's so good.
Wow.
Yeah, so you said your friends thought you were in a cult, or your dad said you're going to be a priest. And all that. I think it doesn't happen only to you. I think it's also when you stand to your faith.
yeah.
And even if you live a quiet life, I think sometimes it stands out,
Yeah.
but not always positive. Like friends will act different and will hate on you when you live with Christ. Like they say you're in the cult. And how do you handle that?
Yeah.
Handle that hate that
Yeah.
comes.
No, it's good. I think when we look throughout Scripture, you see believers who are persecuted and talked about, hated upon. Today, it's even at a bigger level as it relates to social media. You see haters all the time on social media and people clapping back in the comments and saying different things. And I think it's a real thing. And to me, I think it's all about our perspective and your perspective as it relates to people who will say negative things to you, talk about you, gossip about you. I think every person should come back to understanding, potentially thinking about why someone would say something negative about you. And I think hurt people hurt people. I think if, as a believer, you would recognize, okay, there's something maybe going on with that person that would cause them to lash out on me. What is it about my life that would cause them to want to say something negative? Are they insecure? Are they jealous? Are they searching for the peace that you've discovered? And I think it almost can, in a way, I think this is why Jesus says, pray for your enemy. Because your enemy may be dealing with something that you're unaware of. Maybe they've gone through an abusive situation. They've been hurt. They have wounds that they're trying to overcompensate for and disguise. So if I can hurt you, it helps me feel better about my hurt. And so I really believe that students in your school, people that you do life with, if they're gossiping or they're persecuting or hating on you or criticizing you, I think it's probably coming from a place in their life. They won't admit it, but it's coming from a place of hurt in their own world. They're wanting what you have. They're jealous of the way you're living your life. They're trying to find it through all these other things. And so I just think it's about your perspective and having more grace. And that, to me, you know, if people are saying things, it's wait, I'm not the problem. They're dealing with things in their own life, and it's causing them to, because if it's not you, they're going to find someone else.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so good. Thank you so much. I think we're about to close this here. But just, if you have anything on your heart for our young adults, feel free just to encourage us. And
I think the biggest thing for me, and we've talked about this before, is I think a lot of people have misconceptions of who God is. And I think people maybe have had bad experiences with religion or religious organization. And even me, when I was growing up, I thought church was boring and irrelevant. It didn't connect to me in my life. And I discovered, obviously, that Jesus actually is very relevant and has the ability and the power, if I allow him, to change me and to transform me and develop me into the person that he's designed me to be. And through him, we discover our full potential and purpose. And I would just want to encourage any young adult who's listening that God isn't mad at them, that he loves them. He's madly in love with them, and that he's created them for a purpose. And that purpose begins when you step into a relationship with him, and you can come to him just as you are. You don't have to clean up yourself. You don't have to fix all your issues and your struggles and your addictions and then come to God. That's what religion tells you. Get yourself together, then come to God. And the gospel is just the opposite. You know, Jesus came to make us better, to save us. And so we come to him as we are, and he transforms us. You know, I tell people, like, come to Jesus as you are, but he loves you so much, he's not going to leave you the same. You know, he and I can testify to that. Like, I am not the same man as I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and it's by the grace of God.
That is so good. Thank you very, very much.
Very cool. Just something little that I thought about before when we talked about our stories. We both has a story that makes some other decisions go away. Or for church, you don't know the church. I left a little bit that life with other Christians, and maybe you listening and it feels like, oh, it's a cool story to come back and just to share that later and all that. So I have to left that I have later a story, and I want to encourage you. It's not necessary. Also, when you grow up as Christian, you don't have to leave and make some bad decisions that just it came back. Because I had a chance around 14, 15 years old. I was on the line in a good relationship with God, and then I just lost 4 or 5 years. It was, when I look back, it was not necessary. It's great, the grace is good, come back, but if you are listening, just stay in church and do the right things. I want to encourage you, stay, do this same thing. You are a role model for younger people, you're encouraged for older people, and I just had the feeling, don't look at us and, oh, what a cool story. I missed that to come back. So it's really say, it was 5 hard years and it was not necessary. So even if you are close to God, stay and go, run your race, and you will write a lot of books, do a lot of more than I do, because God used people who do consistently the good things and so make great things. Just
that's so good. Thank you. I think we both can testify to that. We both grew up in church, and we didn't do everything right, of course not, but we can testify to that. It's so good to just stay with God and run that race with God.
Yeah, so I always need to remind myself, I don't need a big story, or I don't need like a way out of Christianity to make something big, to bring people to Christ. I don't need a big story. Like, you can do that even if you're always with Christ since the beginning of your life.
Man,
it's awesome.
That's so encouraging. Thank you very much for being here with us. Especially you, Pastor Nick. It's always an honor to have you. It is always an honor.
Danke.
So good. We'll have another podcast very soon, and the next guests will be the second part of our series, Today's Challenges, and we'll have Miri on this podcast, and I'm looking forward to having. And until then, check our social medias at Hope and Life Young Adults. Check our YouTube, check our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you can listen to podcasts, it's there. You can listen to the full episodes, like it, write us what we can do, what we can discuss. If you have any questions, let us know. Also, the book from Pastor Nick.
Let's go. Live the dream.
It's so good.
Live the dream.
Live the dream, absolutely. And you can order it. We have a link in the description. And I would encourage you, get the book and get inspired. Thank you for listening and watching, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks for having me. Danke.